Resident Evil Requiem is the newest entry in the current era of Resident Evil. And yes, I am super late to the Requiem party, but I did upload a short about it while I was working on my RE2 and 3 videos, but no one watched that shit, so here are my in-depth thoughts on Resident Evil Requiem. Resident Evil Requiem is split into two different gameplay styles, and the game opens up by introducing us to a new main character, being Grace Ashcroft, who works for the FBI, investigating a string of mysterious murders, when the next one happens to be at the Renwood Hotel, where her mother Alyssa Ashcroft was murdered by a mysterious man. And for any longtime fans, you would notice that she's the character from Resident Evil Outbreak, which is pretty cool. And if you played that game before, let me know how it is. I'm trying to go on a journey to play every single Resident Evil game. But besides that, she is lured here to be kidnapped by our new villain. While playing the hotel section, we get introduced to Grace's gameplay, which is a reintroduction into first-person horror like RE7 and 8, and gameplay closer to RE2 Remake. And even though this section is pretty short, it does a great job of showing us what to expect while playing as Grace, and honestly does the whole normal person in Resident Evil idea way better than RE7 ever did, because even before Ethan got bitten by his radioactive mold spider, he's been able to handle way more than any person should be able to, and playing as Grace feels more like how any of us would be trying to survive. And even if she does do anything that could be considered ridiculous, it gets kind of explained away from FBI training, even if she is just a data analyst. We are then reintroduced to our favorite Resident Evil veteran, Leon Kennedy, who's also investigating the same murders, as well as Sherry working with Leon and telling him the person they're looking for is Victor Gideon, who just kidnapped Grace, which then kicks off Leon's section, where Gideon starts turning people into zombies because Leon catches up to him like real quick. And this street section for Leon shows us a more expanded version for combat, shown to us in RE4 Remake, with third-person over-the-shoulder action gameplay as we fight through the now zombie-infested street section with just the right amount of chaos. We get new finishers, we get to use object zombies we're holding, and we get the brand new hatchet, which allows you to repair your melee weapon on the fly, instead of having to get a new knife or needing to repair at the merchant shop, which is such a great addition. The hatchet's gotta be one of my favorite new melee weapons now. This street section then leads us back to Grace, but first I gotta say, this is one hell of an opener. It perfectly shows us what we can expect from both styles, with great horror from Grace and chaotic badass action for Leon. And Grace's voice actress is such a great new addition. I love her reactions, and she's just so good. Whenever Alyssa dies, her acting genuinely made me tear up. She just did a phenomenal job. But now back as Grace, we get to start in the care center, which is one of my favorite new locations of Resident Evil. In the first part of the care center, we encounter a brand new stalker enemy while trying to open the gate blocking our way, and I didn't really know what to expect from this new stalker, or even this area. I thought that horror statue was gonna pull an RE1 and start coming at us, but I think the new stalker is great as we try to enter the next part of the care center, and as we do, Grace gets grabbed and we cut back to Leon as we get more context about Victor Gideon, and then we get to fight through the care center and get to tear apart some zombies with the chainsaw. But on my first playthrough, I was so mad. I couldn't pick up the chainsaw at all because it kept spinning and then the zombies would pick it up, but I made sure to get my revenge on my second and third go around. Then we get into the meat and potatoes of this new area where we play as Grace for the third time, and we play as her for a while before we get back to Leon. And I think this is where the game truly finds its stride. The care center has what I call the signature Resident Evil backtracking, where you encounter areas that you can't interact with yet and slowly unlock them as you explore. And the game does a great job at making us need to explore both wings of the care center to solve puzzles, and makes you remember where you need to backtrack to once you do find a solution to a previous puzzle. One of the best examples of this is early on when we find the buckets of blood and we can't do anything with them yet until we find the blood collector, which allows us to craft. So naturally, we go back to find the previous ones to be able to craft more items. The care center also introduces us to some new enemies, and I really didn't know what to expect from these guys. For some reason, I thought they were going to be the new stalkers, so I just tried to avoid them and not waste any bullets. It wasn't until I looked up how to get more antique coins that I go back to kill them. That's also why I love this area so much. You really have no idea what to expect from each room, and we're required to use the clues around us to figure out the puzzles, to get new keys and the antique coins. It feels like a smaller version of the Spencer Mansion, which is my favorite Resident Evil location of all time. We also meet a little girl named Emily, and we need her help for the final puzzle to leave the care center. And I love Grace and Emily's relationship. It's so cute and wholesome. It really shows how much of a real one Grace is, because even though she's scared out of her mind, she'll do anything to keep Emily safe, even when she gets taken underground. Back as Leon, we go through a short fight with Chunk and then obtain more information and learn about Leon and Sherry's T-virus exposure, which adds some real stakes for these characters. Okay, now here's where I start to get mixed feelings about this game, and it's when we go underneath the care center, where its main gimmick is to find all the joint plugs. And while I think it's pretty scary trying to find them and having to figure out a way to obtain them all, I found myself dreading this part in further playthroughs. I feel like because there's more of an order you have to do them in, it doesn't feel as fun as the first part of the care center. I'm not saying it's bad, but it doesn't have the same replayability as the rest of the care center. But after this, this, we go through another secret underground lab to get helicopter keys. And because this is Resident Evil, of course, it crashes. And then we defend Grace in a sniper section and kill this Last of Us ass zombie. And then we have one more run-in with the girl in a short but heart-pumping section. But unfortunately, we can't make it in time and Emily transforms and we quote-unquote kill her as Leon. And this is where the VA for Grace comes in with her amazing voice acting skills again. She is just too good. But after this, Grace leaves with Zeno, which made me freak out so bad because they really had my ass thinking Wesker was back. And she also leaves with Gideon, which takes us into Raccoon City, which is where a lot of my love for this game comes in, but also where more of my mixed feelings are. During the Raccoon City section, we discover how the BSAA has been setting up shop here, and we need to explode a gate by going through their camps in order to get all the parts that we need to get the job done. And this area is super fun. It feels like playing RE4 Remake again, with it having the combat we were introduced to earlier, same inventory system, and a shop that you can buy new weapons from and upgrade them. But easily the best part about this new system is the points that you get from killing enemies, and it really encourages you to go out of your way to kill enemies and to go guns a-blazing into fights, so you can get more points to upgrade your weapons and armor. Throughout this game, we get to see zombies try to continue their routine and retain some of their motor skills, like the singing woman or the chef in the care center, but I think the best use of this are the zombie BSAA agents, still being able to use their guns and trying to blast you with missiles when trying to get a part of the detonator. This area, the gas station, the building you have to go through, including where you need to escape the zombies, all that has the right amount of chaos for me. But I do wish the actual street sections had more of that. I kind of wish somehow the zombies that were underground started to come up to the actual streets, or just made the streets part feel a little crazier. But I think the main reason it didn't feel so grand to me is because everything is so gray and dull looking. I get that Raccoon City was blown to hell and back, but I think it just being gray the entire time really made the atmosphere feel bland to me. I feel like it even killed some of the excitement I had fighting the Tyrant again, even though that was a great boss fight. I'm not sure if this is a hot take or not, but that's just how it made me feel. But after this, we go on a pretty cool motorcycle chase with Gideon, which felt like it was the most ridiculous the action has gotten in a while, but I liked it a lot. I just wish we could have controlled the motorcycle. Once we end the chase, we're back to where we started in the RE2 remake, which is pretty cool getting to re-enter it all run down, and then once we enter the RPD, we get to see the interior all destroyed with flashbacks and commentary from Leon. It really does make you feel bad for him, but it's just a really short section. The callbacks are cool and all, but you don't really get to stay here for very long at all, and I felt like this is what Capcom was trying to hype up. Also, we get music cues from the original RE2, but get the level design from the remake, and even though I love both RPDs, it just doesn't feel nostalgic seeing the remake RPD again. Don't get me wrong, it's cool, but it hasn't been that long since we've seen the RPD in modern graphics in full HD. But easily the coolest part to me was getting to see Mr. X again. That shit had me screaming at the top of my lungs. That had to be the coolest reveal in the entire game. This boss fight was also fun as hell, finally getting to parry him and kill him one more time for what he put us through in RE2 remake. We also get to see why Zeno and Gideon went Grace in the first place, with flashbacks to the orphanage and the clones and experiments making us think Grace was some sort of experiment by Spencer. And just in case anyone was wondering, playing through this section does get pretty old in other playthroughs, but it's not too bad to deal with, but maybe on the fourth playthrough I'll change my mind. We then head underground from the destroyed orphanage and make it through Plant 43 monsters to get to the signature underground lab for our final location, like in typical Resident Evil fashion. But I will say, I wish we got some commentary from Sherry about the orphanage, or even just a mention of Claire. Please, maybe we'll see something in the DLC. But as Leon, we get soldiers sent after us, and fighting them can really be a big challenge, especially how they can tear through your armor. And then we get to fight Hunk. This game just keeps hitting with its surprises. It's another melee boss fight, like when we fight Krauser in RE4 remake. And just a side note, this fight is hard as hell in insanity mode. Hunk is the true final boss of this entire game. I didn't die once fighting Gideon on any playthrough, and the Mr. X fight was hard, but the Hunk one was insane. I died like 10 times in a row. And then the game does you dirty by having some surprise soldiers waiting for you, so do not let your guard down. Anyways, I think this is probably one of the better final lab sections in Resident Evil. Dealing with the Lickers as Grace was very tense, and finally taking them out as Leon felt pretty awesome, but Leon going through the final stages of his T-virus infection was pretty crazy to see. They really had him going through it in this part. We also get some backstory about Grace, and how she's a normal girl Spencer adopted after getting a change of heart. We also see when Alyssa comes in contact with both of them for the first time, which then leads us to our first good and bad ending of the series, I think, where we can destroy or release Elpis. And I don't mean RE1 bad ending, where the cutscene kind of just changes slightly. I mean where Leon gets his head fucking blown off, which was crazy to see. I honestly wish I didn't go back to see it. But once we release Elpis, it's an antiviral instead of the next great weapon Zeno and Gideon thought it was. And then Zeno just dies, which I gotta say was pretty disappointing. It would have been cool to fight him, but it just made him feel like an off-brand Wesker. But the boss fight with Gideon was pretty badass, even though I felt like it was too easy, even on Insanity. But getting to parry a rocket launcher was pretty cool, so I'll let it slide. After this fight, Leon and Grace get rescued by Chris's crew, Leon and Sherry get cured, and we even get to see that Emily's okay and got adopted by Grace, which is just so sweet, and I'm so glad that was their outcome. Now, I did share what gave me mixed feelings about this game, and originally one of those complaints used to be the length. I think it was because I had just replayed RE4 Remake, so I wanted this game to be as long as that one. But I think this game wraps up pretty well and doesn't overstay its welcome. And overall, of course, I love this game. Of course, I had my thoughts in it to share about it, but those kind of things I can look past, and I see an incredible game. I wouldn't have played this game 3 times in a row if I didn't love it. I even got a platinum on this game. I can't wait for what comes out next, especially with Code Veronica around the corner, and supposedly another remake of RE1, which I guess we'll see how that goes because the 2002 remake is one of my favorite Resident Evil games of all time, and I already think it does everything right, so I guess we'll have to see how they can improve upon that, if they even can. But with that being said, thank you for watching. Make sure to join me on my journey because, like I briefly mentioned earlier, I will be playing every single Resident Evil game, so make sure to stay tuned for that.